There are generally within an army twice as many musketeers as there are pikemen, and the pikemen tend to be the shock troops, the heavy troops to go in and finalise the battle. Well, it looks as if the gun captain is threatening the enemy with a gun that he says is loaded. Now, we all know that his gunpowder was blown up, so this is pure bluff on behalf of the Parliament commander, and as such is very courageous. But he's telling his gun crew, make as if you are actually loaded, and we'll threaten to fire at them. And you see, he's warning the infantry in front through his colleague to clear the way for the cannon to fire, and presumably they are claiming that it's full of grape shot, which is a range of small pieces of lead that will spread out as they leave the cannon barrel and kill a large number of people. It looks a bit as if the Royalist commander is not taken in by the ploy though. He's moved forward, he has a skirmish line of musketeers in front, and they are threatening. The pikemen at the back are shouldering their pikes ready to march forward, and so we have a bluff on both sides here. Will the Royalists have the courage to go in on the artillery piece, or will they stand their ground hoping that the artillery piece will be fired early? We of course all know that that artillery piece is empty of any sort of powder, but the Royalists don't know that. This is a very cautious officer on the King's side, and he can see that the linstock, the long pole with a piece of burning cord at the end of it, is poised, ready to fire that cannon if he advances. This is a real game of nerve, and he's decided that it is worth losing a few troops if that artillery piece fires, and he's sending forth a musket screen in hopes that they'll be able to fire and perhaps kill some key people on the side of the gun. But we can hear off to the left now the drums of the Welshpool militia coming in. They're obviously very certain that they can win this, because whereas you and I would probably expect them to be coming in at double pace or as fast as they possibly could, they're maintaining their dressings and attempting to look like a formal military unit, although the militia, as the name suggests, are troops drawn from the town who have some basic knowledge of how to operate as a military force. But the militia has appeared, and they are now forming up in a threatening way around the artillery piece in hopes that they can persuade the Royalists, who thought that they had an opportunity to capture a cannon easily, in hopes that they can persuade those Royalists to retreat. And we can just wait to see what will happen. And a musketeer has luckily hit one of the parliamentarians in that shot, but you see the number of muskets that were fired, and only one of the Parliament forces was shot. Well, this is a really courageous officer. He's bringing his musket troops in, even though the pike block in the background is staying well back because they fear that loaded cannon. This is sheer folly on behalf of the Royalist officer, because he has so few troops and he's facing up against troops of much greater numbers, and also, more importantly, they have a pike block alongside them, and the pike block are able to go in and make mincemeat of a musket block once the musket block has fired its guns. He's determined to have his day of honour and pride, and could well easily find himself taken prisoner, because he's now behind the Parliament lines and somehow persuading them not to seize him. He's been hit in the leg, he's limping slightly, but you can see the difference between the professional officer and the militiaman. They haven't the courage to go in, even though they outnumber him many men more than he is. And so the officer withdraws and tries to encourage his troops forwards, but I think they've decided that this is not a gun worth bothering to try and capture. Well, it looks as if the Parliament militia have decided that they're going to advance against the enemy. This is the time when the courage is going to be seen. Will the Royalist troops stand their ground, battle-hardened Royalist troops, part of a force of 5,000, or will they back off? It looks as if they're ready for action. But is it really worth the trouble? They have orders that they should be going to defend Montgomery Castle, and yes, it's obvious that they are backing off. They're keeping their pikes in the attack position, but they are withdrawing in good order, despite being threatened by the cavalry on their flank. The Royalist commander has been driven from the field because of his indecisiveness at the beginning, when if he'd have sent his troops in immediately, he might have been able to capture this gun, which has no powder and no shot down the barrel. So those of you that are for Parliament, come on, let's hear you call out a big huzzah for Parliament, because on this particular occasion the forces of Parliament have won the day. On God's side with the King, let's hear you call out a huzzah for the King. Hopefully that will encourage the Royalists in the main battle, which will be ensuing shortly.